Hello. It's been a while. It's been 3 weeks since I've done a video. So there's been a lot going on. If you've been watching the shorter videos, we've got a new laundry system. Our washing machine died, and still in the process of getting the new laundry system going. And in the process, I'm building up some muscle because I'm working a ringer and doing things by hand. It's been crazy. So anyway, we are back. Um, and we're going to talk. We're going to skip. I have one friend that says I'm not going to call it Black Friday anymore. I refuse. And so we're going to call it Bonus Friday. But we're going to skip that, and we're not even going to talk about Cyber Monday. We're going to talk about Giving Tuesday. And I'm really excited about this because I don't think I had actually heard of this before, believe it or not. I may be a little behind on the times, but I have Danielle Foxx here to talk to us about these things. And Danielle, why don't you introduce yourself and let people know who you are?
Hi, I'm Danielle Foxx, and I am with 4F Accounting Associates. And I work with faith-led entrepreneurs and help them to shift their perspective and start seeing their bookkeeping as a tool for stewardship versus a mundane task that is only necessary because we have to file those dreaded tax returns come April. And when you connect bookkeeping with a tax return, everything, all of the emotions are negative for most people. And so I really want to help faith-led entrepreneurs see that their bookkeeping is really a tool for their faithful stewardship and how it can help their business, how it can help them see their business and see their books as a story of God's provision and grace and mercy. So that's kind of how I work with my bookkeeping clients from that perspective. And I love that you have invited me on here to talk about Giving Tuesday because I have worked with several nonprofits. I currently do bookkeeping for a nonprofit based out of Maryland. And this is a huge day in the nonprofit world, but I am learning the more and more that I talk about this, that there are a lot of people out there who don't know that Giving Tuesday even exists. Unless they are, connected with a nonprofit in some way. So I thank you for asking me on here today that we can have this conversation and start making more people aware of the opportunities that they have.
Yeah, I have been involved in years past. One of my favorite authors, Shanna Hatfield, does a fundraiser every year for the Cowboys, the PRCA Cowboys. And it's I think it's Justin Boots, that does the fundraiser, and she does a big thing for that every year. And I like being involved in stuff like that. I think, the holidays our priorities can get so out of whack with
Mhm.
all of the activities that go on, and then worrying about gift giving and all of that. It's nice to be able to concentrate on giving. Um, Now, a lot of the people that probably watch me are like farmers, ranchers, new homesteaders, things like that. Or I have some people that have like little jewelry businesses and things like that. And they don't tend to think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but I need to tell them, you are. It's a business just like everything else. So it's important to think about it that way, and especially whenever it comes to finances. Now, as a farm, and we've got several home businesses because out here in the boonies, it takes, you can't have all your eggs in one basket type of thing. And probably nobody should in this day and age. So we have several different things we have to file, several different pages.
Mhm.
There's a farm page and a business page and, you know, the personal stuff. So taxes, Yeah, I hire we've had an accountant for because I'm a math person, but I don't trust myself. The laws change too often
Right.
for me to keep up with it. And whenever it comes to charity, Paul and I have always had the idea that we don't care if it's a 501c3 or whatever. I know that that means a lot to some people, and the tax deduction can help, but there's other ways too that you can get a tax deduction and be giving to somebody who needs it, who is not a 501c3, like hiring someone to maybe help with your bookkeeping, or hiring someone to clean your house while that needs to be done. It doesn't have to be a full-time housekeeper. It can be somebody that just comes in for the holidays to help keep up with things while you've got the extra stuff going on. That can really help somebody out, and it can be tax deductible if it's applied right in your business, right?
Well, I actually am not, I don't do tax accounting. I focus on bookkeeping. I do know enough about tax law to be scary.
Yeah.
But because you can't work with people's books and all of that and not be at least familiar with what are your deductions, what can you take,
Right.
what should we should be looking for, how can we maximize
And
these?
every state's different
Exactly.
too. And
Exactly.
so there's things to think about there. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize, a lot of nonprofits are out there and they'll say, "Oh, give to us because it's tax deductible." Well, it's tax deductible if you have enough deductions to itemize.
Right.
If you're not itemizing, then you are limited. And I believe currently, right now, it's like $300 a person that you can take, even if you're not itemizing on your taxes. And then I just read an article, and I'm not, don't quote me because I have to do more research, but I did read an article that's talking about some changes they want to make for 2026. And one of those changes is increasing that amount that you're allowed to deduct, even if you don't itemize on your tax return. So, while giving can definitely be, especially if you, for those larger businesses who are dealing in larger dollar values, while giving can definitely be beneficial for them, I really encourage people to do it from a heart posture of generosity and not from a tax perspective. If you can get the tax benefit, I'm all for it. Absolutely take it. But I don't think that our giving should be, I like your perspective on that. I don't think our giving should be, well, I'm going to give because I want a tax
deduction. Yeah, the Bible, whenever it's talking about tithes and offerings, it doesn't say if you're going to get a tax deduction,
right?
Or whatever. So, I hate to. It's nice to have a deduction, especially if you need it. If you've had an influx of income this year and you're worried that it's going to move you into another bracket and you need, to figure out some leeway, definitely have as much done as possible in your bookkeeping.
Mm-hmm.
If you need help, get help. Earlier before the end of the year, even I like to give some to our accountant so he has an idea of what has gone on for the year, and he can give us an idea if we need to make a purchase, if some charitable donations might be a good idea or something like that. He can give us that idea before that last couple of months is over. And that's very helpful. So being in touch with an accountant is just a good idea.
Highly recommended. I think every business owner, it is, if you have a small business, it's really easy to say, oh, I can do it myself, but as you mentioned, the tax laws are changing all the time. I don't even do my own taxes. I have somebody who helps me with them because of that.
Means a lot.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
I could do them. Absolutely. I know enough to be able to do it. One, I don't want to take the time away from, serving my clients. I'd rather, that's something I'd rather hire out. But also, as you mentioned, tax laws change all the time. And I was just saying, I'm seeing are starting to see the articles for, oh, this is coming in 2026. And it's really hard to keep up with those things. And there are some things for small business owners that can be beneficial to them that my CPA has pointed out to me in the past. And so I do recommend, I know that it's an expense, and if you can plan for that expense, and then as you mentioned as well, work with that accountant throughout the year. Don't just give them your taxes in April, because they can't advise you, they can't help you make those decisions. And stewardship is, while we do, we all have to pay taxes. It's not going away anytime soon. Part of being a good steward of the finances that God has given to us, really, they're all His. We get in this mindset of it's 90% mine and 10% His. No, it's really 100% His. And so being a good steward of the finances He is allowing to flow through us, part of that is smart tax decisions. I mean, why would we want to give more money to the government than we are required to give, when we could be using that money to have kingdom impact throughout the world? And so,
I would definitely rather, there's been so much with the government shutdown and stuff lately, and I want to be careful with how because I'm not judging anybody if you're on benefits or something. Sometimes it needs to be, and that's okay. But at the same time, we love being able to help people in our community when they need it. So buying an extra bag of groceries for somebody, or donating to the local food bank, or, food pantry, or, somebody was talking about, formula and diapers. And I'm like, we kind of keep our local pregnancy center stocked, and they've got diapers all the way up to pull-ups. It's all sizes. It's not just for newborns. So we want to make sure that families are taken care of in the community. And there's so many ways to do that. Just
absolutely. Absolutely. I love those ideas of, and kind of tying it back to the Giving Tuesday. It's so easy for us to get caught up in all these shopping days that come up, after Thanksgiving through the weekend, whatever we want to call them. They're, it's shopping. Like, okay, shop small business, shop online, shop, the world is just buying into that materialistic focus.
It is. And entrepreneurs, we're having to kind of cater to that. I'm having to market all the time in order to sell just a couple of books a month. Right. I have to be putting out information about my books constantly in order to just bring in that little bit of income. So as entrepreneurs with businesses, you hate feeling salesy. I hate feeling salesy, and I don't want to be pushy at all. But at the same time, out of sight, out of mind. So I had a friend that messaged me last week, and she's like, hey, the essential oils, there's a big BOGO sale right now. And my husband had just said, hey, I think we're out of this such and such essential oil, or we're just about out. We need to order pretty soon. And it was in the sale. So it's nice to be able to take advantage of those sales. Definitely if it's financially, if it's good stewardship, to take advantage of those sales, budget in so that you have the money during that time, and make sure you're getting a good deal,
right.
Just changing the labels or whatever. But yeah, take advantage of it whenever you can. But yeah. Anyway, tell us about the whole Giving Tuesday thing.
So Giving Tuesday is a day that's set aside nationwide. It may even be worldwide, that focuses on nonprofits, giving to nonprofit agencies specifically, or community impact. They don't have to be 501c3 agencies, but most of the time the people you're going to see advertising are those organizations. And it's a day set aside out of the year, and it is really important to these organizations because they're coming into the last few months of the year, and holidays giving is just down because everybody is focused on, caring for their families and the gifts and all of that. And so the holiday season can be a really tight season for a lot of nonprofits. And so this Giving Tuesday is really important in the nonprofit world because it helps them be able to meet their budgets, to be able to afford, to get through the end of the year during those months where it's pretty tight for many organizations, and then also get a start on the new year. Because while there's kind of a give and take, a lot of individuals tend to kind of pull back in the last couple of months of the year. Businesses are trying to find those, tax deductions. And so they're giving, they're trying to find those organizations to give to, but then January, February, March, nobody's thinking about it at that point. So Giving Tuesday is really, for the next, it's when nonprofits are able to really focus on trying to achieve the budget they need to get through the rest of the year, as well as those first few months of the next year. And so, especially I think as believers, it is really important for us as we're thinking about, yes, we're caring for our families and we want to give to each other during the holiday season, but at the same time, having that community focus, like you were talking about, and that kingdom impact focus. How are we going to not only care for our families directly, but others around us during the holiday season? And so I just like to encourage, I'd like to encourage everyone, business owners, individuals, to, find an organization that really aligns with your values. Maybe it's an organization that's helping women in a foreign country be able to care for their families because it's teaching them how to, make bags or make coin purses or, learn some kind of trade so they can care for their families. Or maybe it's, like you mentioned, a local crisis pregnancy center, or, some of those, just an organization. Maybe it's your church. Maybe your church has a building fund going on, and it's an opportunity for you to do something a little bit above and beyond what you had already planned for. And so I just love to encourage and to talk about planning for Giving Tuesday. When you're writing your budget of, I'm going to, I have this much that I'm going to set aside for all those shopping days, take time to also say, how much am I going to set aside for Giving Tuesday? And find that organization and just, commit to being able to support them during this time that's so important for them to help meet their budget and do the things that are going to allow them to continue serving people for the next several months.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the ones that we've kind of, let's see, our local Christian radio station just started not long after we got married. So it's about as old as our marriage is. And we just have one, basically. There's another one in another part of Oklahoma that we can sometimes get, but there's this one that covers Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, like this area out here, a large area. And we just think that that's an important option to be able to have is Christian radio,
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the ones out here that I think a lot of people, a lot of the Christians out here probably give to. And then we've talked about the food banks. There's, the domestic crisis center. Most communities have a domestic crisis center. This is an excellent time to give there because, whenever somebody is in that kind of a situation, especially if there's children involved, then, they're struggling just to get toothpaste, much less gifts,
Right.
for their
Right.
families. So, in order to have a nice meal or whatever. So, that's something to think about. Um, we have a local motorcycle group that I can't remember what they're called now, but they like give bicycles to children every year, which
Oh,
is
that's
really cool.
fantastic.
Yeah. They will uh, they do it throughout the year, and the Christmas parade, they will load up all those bicycles onto a trailer that they've
Oh,
bought, and they will take them through the parade. So there's so many ideas. There's just so many ideas. Yeah. I it, let's see.
and
Uh
it doesn't always have to be financial. I because of the field that I'm in, I focus on helping business owners be able to plan for Giving Tuesday, plan for generosity. That's so for my aspect, it is financial, but it could be going out and volunteering time, like that's still
well, and
generosity.
sometimes you need to plan financially for that. Because if you're a busy business owner, farmer, rancher, my husband's an electrician, being able to take that time off to volunteer is
Mhm.
a cost.
Correct.
So think about that as well. If you're donating your time to something, then that is a financial thing that you might need to budget for throughout the year to be prepared to give some time, to take a few days off to give. So I mean that's a thought too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course baking cookies, doing one of my favorite movies this time of the year is The Christmas Card. And she wrote, made all the homemade Christmas cards for the soldiers. Um,
Oh,
and we've got one couple here that has a kind of an adopted platoon of soldiers that they collect for each year. And they'll have a list of things that the soldiers are needing, overseas. And so the community will pitch in and give to that, and so that's a nice thing to do as well. And of course, missionaries. Missionaries are always, we need to remember them. There's just there's so many needs.
absolutely. And it's just a great it's a great time of year to be thinking about that. We're going through the Thanksgiving season, we're going through the holiday season, just being grateful for the blessings that we have financially, time wise, that we're able to physically go and serve, alongside a ministry, maybe working in a soup kitchen one day during the holidays, or, volunteering at, a pregnancy center. I know our local one has a toy drive. They support moms up through their babies turning 3 years old, and so they have a like sister organization that helps to raise get donations for the toys for all of the children that are being supported through that organization
Yeah.
and those families. And but they not only do they need the gifts, but they need the people to be there to help hand them out to all the families. And so there just are there are opportunities in so many different ways, and just to really to have that focus of Giving Tuesday. And maybe it's not something that an individual or a business is going to be able to do specifically on Giving Tuesday, although I just love having a day set aside specifically for impacting our communities and impacting those who are specifically serving others from a nonprofit standpoint. But it may not be that it happens exactly on Giving Tuesday, but Giving Tuesday can be our reminder, hey, this
Yes.
is the season
Yes.
that I am going to, it can be a reminder, or maybe it's the day that we make our commitment. I
Yeah.
will
Right,
commit
that's what I was
to,
thinking. Sit down with your team
right.
and brainstorm, okay, there's the nursing home. They need
Mhm.
donations. The senior center needs donations. Yeah, there's so many different things. If you can sit down in your community with your team and say, "Hey, what are the needs in our community right now, and what
Mhm.
can we do?" And maybe take the day on Tuesday and say, "Okay, we're gonna stop an hour early today, and we're gonna go to the nursing home and go sing hymns, or just go around to each room and shake hands and visit with people or something." Just something, where you're setting aside that time. And then, it's if you're just learning about this now, then it's a little late to budget for it. So unless you've got some money set aside already, that you want to do that. And maybe instead of gifts, you can I have before we've given a gift in somebody's name, instead of, because it's that person who has everything, you got
Right.
that person that just has everything and they're picky, and and it's like, I I will send them a card and say, "We gave a gift to such and such ministry in your name this year." And that is a lovely gift for somebody who's got it
Absolutely.
all. You know?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, I am all for sending handwritten cards and letters every year. I have not been good at it, even though I wrote a whole book on this. But I have, like everybody else with social media, I've fallen off the wagon on writing handwritten cards and letters. But we're getting so disconnected
Mm.
at, just the whole world at this point, and people are lonely. And Facebook and Twitter and everything, they don't feel that void like a handwritten letter or an actual face-to-face visit. So, even if you use this day or some time around this day to sit down, write letters, do your cards, and think about what you're going to do. And then as you finish your taxes and stuff for the next year, think about how you can squeeze in, because we're all squeezing right now, right? Think about how you can squeeze in a, a budget for that stuff, because I know we've got so many ministries, like the local Salvation Army. At this time of the year, they're always looking for their bell ringers and stuff like
Mhm.
that at this time of the year. And sometimes the people that end up volunteering for those kinds of things at this time of the year are just basically getting stuck with it, because they're the ones that volunteer all year long. And by the time the holidays come along, let's just face it, holidays are not always easy for everybody. I just don't even know that they are easy, period. It's supposed to be a nice, loving, giving time of the year. But for a lot of us, we've lost loved ones. We're running into financial hardship. We've got vehicles that need repairs, and, all of these things going on. And it's not necessarily that joyous time of the year. Um, so when somebody has been working with an organization all year long, and then it comes to the holidays and they need to make this big push, like you're talking about, just to get through the end of the year and to have a little ahead for the beginning of the year, because everybody's paying their credit card bills then,
Right.
you know, and then I've heard people complain, especially not church people, about these Christian organizations during the holidays, because people are being not nice. And I think a lot of it is stress that they don't understand, because these people have been giving, giving, giving all year long. And they're the ones, because they're the ones that are always doing it, they're the ones that are stuck with that extra load during the holidays. And they may not be the best ones to do it. So consider, like you said, volunteering with
Mhm.
some of these organizations, and just step in and say, "Hey, how can I help this season?" And if it's nothing more than helping seal envelopes to send out those last ditch, asks for donations, or if it's ringing a bell out in the cold in front of Wally World or whatever, um, consider putting in some time and effort for that and giving somebody else a break, because we're not being a good example to the kingdom when the non-churched people in our community see the Christians all stressed out and with no patience. Patience, we know patience is something that God grows in us, right? But the non-church people don't understand that just because we've accepted Jesus, all of our problems didn't go away. you know?
We got a few more along the way. So
Yes, your life actually, you start asking for a tax whenever you're become a part of the kingdom, and they don't understand that. So part of that kingdom impact is our attitudes.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I just love the idea of, in the volunteering, because having been involved with several different nonprofits, I can tell you the founders of these organizations by the end of the year are exhausted. And it's, trying to find, and their team members are exhausted because a lot of times they have small teams, especially if you're looking at some of the smaller local organizations. They don't have, they're not Goodwill. They don't have 40,000, employees or whatever. I'm just making up statistics. I don't know how many
right,
Goodwill has,
right.
but so don't quote me. But they may have 4 or 5 people on their team, and they're running this organization and serving all these people, and they are exhausted. And like you said, if it's licking envelopes to help them send out their Christmas cards to the moms that they serve, or if it's licking envelopes to help them send out their year-end campaigns, or if it's watching the kids so that the moms can do what they need to do in these various organizations. And I say moms, I could be dads, but if the parents who are trying to support these organizations, they got kids, and sometimes it's, hey, can I come help watch the kids while you're having this event, so that, you're having a gift wrapping event, or you're having a Christmas tree lighting, or you're having whatever. But, just being able to step in and do those things are huge. They
Yes.
really are. And the founders, the operators of these organizations are so grateful when people will donate not just their finances, but also their time, especially during the holidays when their teams are already, most of these organizations are trying to do fun things for the holidays. And so it's extra work on their team. And as you mentioned, just having people to come in and lighten that load and help everybody's attitude stay a little bit above the medium line, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You put it very well, very well. I have a tendency to be a little abrupt sometimes whenever I try to be careful, but well, and I have to remind myself to go to some of the local holiday functions. I'm not an extrovert. As a matter of fact, I just did another one of those personality test things, and I came out extra introverted. It's like super duper introvert. And it's true. I have to work myself up to mess with people. Um and so getting out and going to these things to if we have one of the local schools, they've got a little like home economics type class, and they make earrings every year, and they take to like the craft shows and things like this to help buy more materials for their class. And the children, young people that are involved have to uh, keep track of how much they spent on supplies, how long it took for them to make the earrings, how much they made off of them. They have to keep track of the accounting of that, which I think is wonderful. It's a wonderful class. So, that's something that I want to keep an eye out for, and I want to be supportive of that. So, we need to pay attention to those things,
Mhm.
and like you said, your interests are going to make a difference in what you're, interested in helping with
Right.
too. So, if you're a book person, you really like books, donating to the local library might be a good idea. That, and buying books from local authors for gifts, things like that. So, yeah, just think what is it that I enjoy that I can help other people enjoy as well, might be a way to think about things.
Agree. Yeah, that's fabulous. That's a great suggestion. What are the things that are I'm passionate about, and I can help encourage others in their passion in that area. Helping the home economics class, be excited about the things that they're doing, and show an interest in the things they've worked hard to do that.
Mhm.
And so, having the community come out and support them is like such a boost for
It's a
the
big
students.
thing, and I have this concept that everybody who possibly can should try to have some kind of a home-based business. Like I said, the eggs in one basket type thing, right? Because you get laid off of your job, your husband gets laid off, something like that. Having an extra side gig is just, to me, a good idea. And if we look throughout the Bible, that's kind of how God created things. He created them to be farmers, shepherds, service people by either serving others, whether it's baking bread, carpentry, different things,
Mhm.
tent making. Paul was a tent maker,
Mhm.
things like that that they could do for people to make an income because we all got to eat, right?
Mhm.
The only ones that weren't making an income were the Levites, and that's where the tithe came from. Those people who are spending their time serving others 24/7, basically, those are the ones that we need to make sure are being taken care of, right? So, yeah, I like this. I like this. This is going to become a part of our year. Now
Awesome.
that we learned about
That
it.
makes me happy. I love to talk about this, and especially encourage Christians to um, to really, there are a lot of nonprofits out there. I know it gets testy of what, are they vetted? Are they not vetted? How much of their donations go to operations versus directly to the people that they serve? Like, there's a lot of different things.
There's
Um,
so many dynamics. Yeah,
but, but
and it's a good idea to vet. It's a good
yes,
idea to vet.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. In fact, that's one of the things that is my long-term goal, is to create a database where I can, as I'm talking with clients and they're saying, yeah, I'd really like to get involved with Giving Tuesday, but I'm not sure, who I should support or how I can, to have kind of a database that I've created of people that I know that I can support, and be able to share that, with my clients and say, hey, there's this organization or this organization, and have from a different variety of community impact, so that if this specific business owner really feels strongly about, like, I want to help women, in another country learn a trade and support their families. Okay, you can, like, let me recommend Dare for More Ministries. Like, you should, you can give to them. Or, if you, want to help a pregnancy center, having a couple different ones. If
A
you're,
database would be really nice, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and as a matter of fact, if you're watching this video and you have a favorite place that you like to give, that you have vetted and is a good one, put it in the comments. Let's start now, right? Let's
Absolutely.
start
That's
now.
great.
Yeah. Share with us where you like to give or where you've received benefit from before would
Yes.
would be great. We, and disaster relief is one of those things too.
Mhm.
Um, because we don't want to count on FEMA.
Right.
So there's just been so many nightmare things lately, and I know when we had the fires out here, nobody wanted to deal with Red Cross.
Oh,
It was so sad for the people that were, because it's not their fault necessarily, but we just, okay, the truck's there, great, thank you, moving on. But we had the local churches in the area just like all jumped in, and they set out a whole big o at one of the youth camps area
oh,
with
wow.
clothes and stuff. I mean, there were boots and work gloves and everything that we basically needed to be able to deal with the situation more than we needed. And then people around the area donated fencing supplies and things like that um medication for the animals and all kinds of things. So, there's several disaster relief
Mhm.
organizations out there that are good Christian organizations that we have seen show up in situations like this and have been a blessing. So, if you are involved in one of those, if you have received a blessing from one of those, if you know of one, then, let us know. And yeah, we'll get Danielle started on her database. Okay, where can they find you? Let them know.
Sure. My website is 4F, the number 4F, accounting.net. And if they go to my website, there are some free resources there that they can access that, talking about the topic of generosity, some bookkeeping tips for building generosity into your business in, simple everyday kind of ways. And
Nice.
so, yes, if they, there's also a link there if they want to get in touch with me, they can submit a form there for information, and I will reach back out to them. So,
Awesome. Awesome. And I will have that in the comments as well. So thank you so much for being on. This has been a nice conversation. It's been a nice change from some of the stuff that I've been talking about lately. I love having these interviews and getting, you know, different things that can help us just get on the right path and get our heads in the right place. So this has really helped.
well, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate you asking me to come on and join you.
Okay. See y'all later.
Bye.